What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about another documentary, another 2024 doc. This has been a year. This has been a year, sir. And please let me talk on this one. Like, don't just. I know you're going to hear some words and you're going to be like, I don't want to hear this, Philly. Let me tell you what it's about. I promise we're gonna shoot it straight here. This is America's Burning. It's a new documentary. It is produced by Barry Levinson and Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas narrates, and I was provided a screener for this for my consideration, which means it doesn't have audio description because most screeners never have audio description. Although it's a documentary where Michael Douglas does a lot of talking, and in between there are some talking heads that come in for interviews. I would be very curious to know what the final audio description is for this film, because I wasn't catching a whole lot of moments. There were a couple where it's showing some footage and it's being quiet for a couple seconds. So there are places where audio description could have brought in more context, but this is like I do with a lot of documentaries. Honestly, I feel a lot more comfortable. Not that I'm saying we shouldn't have audio description on everything. I'm very much describe everything because anything helps. The fact that I'm missing out on any imagery at all, I'm missing out on the filmmaker's intent. I'm missing out on stuff like that. So I did miss a chunk of the film, but Michael Douglas is talking so much in this movie, and then we still have to talk to experts, and we have these interviews and stuff. So, um, I honestly don't know. I don't know that this film is going to have profound audio description to it. So, it should have audio description to fill in the gaps and will help you track these people who are talking. But the weird thing about Douglas's narration is sometimes he tells you who's talking. So he almost kind of performs audio description as he's like, we've met with so-and-so who did it. And it's just like, oh, okay, cool. Thank you for that, Michael. Um, yeah, it's in some ways it feels like a PBS documentary. Like maybe it is. Like it's trying to educate you, but I think one of the reasons why I said please stay is because I think I review a lot of things, a lot of political documentaries that lean left, and this is not one of those. I know that's shocking to hear that America's Burning is not one of those. So what America's Burning largely tries to do, uh, with, trying to stay sort of central and neutral, is talking about sort of some really basic problems and staying away from culture war type problems. It acknowledges that we're in the middle of a culture war, and it acknowledges what it's trying to do is be a cautionary tale for if we continue down this path of red versus blue, where that could lead us. It's sort of like the documentary version of Civil War, where Alex Garland just didn't take a side and he didn't even explain why anybody was there or like what the differences were or anything. He just is like, the war, we split. It's a split. Fuck no, nobody knows why. Just the world is broke. Um, but the documentarian here, through Michael Douglas's voice, explains sort of all of the little reasons, things you don't even necessarily think about in terms of interest rates and little back holes that corporations have for being able to profit off of like interest and stuff like that, like things that could easily be changed that would help to support families. It's sort of like a written promise for the future in a way that that doesn't lean left or right. It's not saying it's not a climate change documentary. Do you know what I'm saying? Like for people who are like, oh, I'm anti-climate change. I don't believe in it. Well, this doesn't change. This is not going to change. This is not an inconvenient truth. This is not that. Um, this is more just about a cautionary tale of if we continue to fight all the time about things that don't matter while not focusing on the things that do, what we don't realize is that politicians, and they do just kind of generalize politicians, are not quite doing their job. Like they say things that are just sort of general statements that are true for both parties. Like, what if legislators had to work 5-day work weeks? Right now they work two, you know? They only have to work 2 days a week while we have to work the rest of the time, and then they dictate to us, and then they tell us what's wrong with our lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's our fault because we're not working hard enough. But they really only work 2 days of the week. And then the rest of the time is left. They've actually gamed the system enough so that it allows them 5 days for campaigning to work 2 days a week. So, I mean, like, I guess occasionally there's a time where they get held over and they grumble about it because they're like, oh, we have to stay or to revert a government shutdown. It's like, I don't know, maybe if you guys did the work to begin with, and it talks about how much stronger everybody would be if these people actually like moved to DC and their families were there and they actually congregated more and they shared ideas. And I mean, it's like a very hopeful documentary about so many other things that have nothing to do with, is that transgender person using that bathroom? Like, it's not that at all. It's about all of these other things that we're not even talking about. Little things that could fix uh that could help fix the problems, like little the nuts and bolts in the system. Like, oftentimes people talk about big things and make them into these big ideas and big issues, and they're not really, you know. I see a lot of people who talk about, and I don't mean, I'm sorry if you're on the right and you stayed here, but I see a lot of people talking about this like this idea from this last election that they're like transgender prisoners. I'm like, if you voted on that, how does that affect you? I mean, like, I know you don't like your tax dollar money, but we're all paying for something we don't like. So when people talk about like kitchen table topics, that's not a kitchen table topic. That's just something that somebody has used to anger you in a culture war. And it's true on my side too. I mean, there's a lot of things that are culture war stuff. I end up being pulled into a culture war about transgender prisoners, which I didn't think I would have a conversation about. So yeah, in the meantime, everybody else is getting away with all of this other bullshit. And this kind of focus on all the other bullshit. It's like, while we're busy arguing about, whether or not, I don't know, pick a topic, uh, anything that you're angry about, while you're busy arguing about that with your family over Thanksgiving or whatever, then think about all the little things that the people who, went and got their degrees in like political science and business and stuff and are actually using and manipulating legislation. This talks about getting special interest groups out of Congress and making it so that they can't write legislation. I mean, like, these are things that are not these are things that are not partisan issues. This director has worked so hard to find things that should very much be common ground. Like, what is the antithesis to this? Who are the people on the other side going, no, they only should work 2 days a week, and special interest groups should be writing legislation? I mean, like, when you focus on things like that and talk about and bring those up as being, these could help things, this could help America and make our lives better. And if our lives are a little bit better, then maybe we'll be a little bit less angry. When you think about that kind of stuff, it becomes sort of kind of a fascinating documentary. So I wish more people would see this. I think it's jumping into a political minefield of political documentaries, and people are going to write this off because they're going to see Michael Douglas and they're like, he's a Hollywood liberal. And God, I wish we could find somebody who just maybe nobody knew what their politics were or something to narrate this. I think Michael Douglas does a great job. He played a president in a film once. So he seems old and wise when he's narrating because he's getting up there in age. It seems like an old man is trying to teach us something before moving on. I hope he doesn't die. I love Michael Douglas, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting documentary, and it was one that I think because it doesn't just sit there and go, Trump is the problem, that I think maybe some people will, who wouldn't listen to it otherwise, maybe won't turn it off. So, but also on the other side, it's not coming in from the other side telling us that we're all libtards either. So it's literally trying really hard to walk right down the middle, is trying really hard to say, you know, if we do it this way, the far right and the far left won't be happy, but this is how we stop America from burning. So I like the ideas that were presented in this. I thought it was strong. I just think this is a hell of a year for documentaries. I've seen a lot of strong documentaries this year, and I don't know, man. I don't even know if the doc branch picks 15 documentaries I've never heard of. I'm gonna be so disappointed because I've seen so many great documentaries this year that all feel like they're up the Academy's alley in one way or another. And I feel like there's still some more. There's still some screeners that I have where I'm like, God, that feels like an Oscar doc, you know? So is it my favorite documentary of the year? No, no, no. I've had a couple that have moved me. Notably, at least as of recording this, I have two documentaries actually in my top 10, actually 3 documentaries in my top 10, but my number one film right now is a documentary of the year, The Commandant's Shadow, which I think I'm letting dethrone Ghostlight. I've never actually put a documentary at the top of any of my lists in any year, but if I end up with The Commandant's Shadow at the top of my list, I will be pleasantly surprised. But there's also We Will Dance Again, which I thought was fantastic. And neither one of those are about American politics, by the way. So, yeah. Anyway, check this out. If, I don't know where it's coming. Like, again, I got a screener copy. I don't know when it's going to land, where it's going to land, how you're going to see it. Theaters, VOD, streaming, I don't know. But if you see America's Burning, keep an open mind. And remember, this one is really trying to just walk down the center. I would not. I've been really honest about some other ones. I think I told when people were, I think in my bad faith review, I was like, if you're honest, just go ahead, bye, come back later, you know? I mean, because I don't expect certain people to listen to, I know that they're not going to, you know, one way or the other, because I'm not. I didn't review, what is that? It's that one that guy made from, I can't even think of the name of it. Am I Racist? I didn't even watch that. So, which also hasn't been made available to me as a screener. I don't even know where it is. Like, I'm not paying for their streaming, Daily Mail streaming service or what, Daily Wire streaming service. So, I suppose if they said it to me as a screener, I would watch it, but otherwise, I'm not going to. So, I'm not going to seek it out. But I'm going to give America's Burning an A-. So, I think it does a pretty decent job. I think probably the one thing maybe that's holding it back from greatness is it has a tendency to try to predict the future by using these little clips from the news of things that could happen. Well, valid. They're all things that could happen. And that's the point. I think that's kind of where it breaks from documentary, is when you start trying to play, is when it's no longer presenting us with real world things and you're playing with sort of probabilities and very specific situations of probabilities too. Not just talking about like, in 30 years we will run out of helium, you know, like, I don't know, but when you start kind of saying in a stunning turn of events, Europe has aligned with China, you know, it's like, what? Okay, please explain. You know, yeah, there's some of that stuff, but other than that, I thought the documentary was really strong. And I know, like, when you're presenting that, like, yes, that could happen, I'm sure, like, lots of things could happen, but so thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.